Hello, everyone. This is Thomas Pepin, NHL Talk. I'm Thomas Pepin, and let's talk about the NHL. So, today, this stream, I was going to say today's stream, but I already did one. So, um, yeah, this stream, basically, it's the weekly recap that I do. Fridays, now currently at, well, supposed to be scheduled for 11 p.m. Eastern, and I got delayed, so my apologies. Uh, and so it's taking place now. And so basically, I'll recap the major news and events that take place or took place during the week. And besides that, I'll be covering things like suspensions, injuries, waiver claims, or things related to waivers, signings, trades, scores, standings, stat leaders. So let's get to it. Give me one sec to have things pulled up so I can share. All right. So, first story is, well, I mean, broadly, the stories that the Sharks have been miserable. More specifically, they were the first team in 58 years to allow 10 goals in consecutive games, which is just completely unreal. I don't, I mean, clear. I was going to say I don't know the last time I've seen that. Well, actually, it's in the title. I wouldn't have seen that because it was 58 years ago. It's just unreal. So they lost 10-2 to Pittsburgh and 10-1 to Vancouver. Like, yuck. Um, so beyond that, not much to say. Um, well, we'll kind of see them in the standings later. So we'll speak more about that later on. So I guess I should say, well, first, as always, things are done on the spot, no prep work except for the subject. So um, I should say that also a lot of these things, they're just for informational purposes. So, like, there's not really much more to say. We could talk about the previous teams where this happened, but it's like, uh, yeah. So sometimes I'll just skim through things. Sometimes I'll speak more about something. Sometimes it's just the title I'll even say. So, um, anyways, moving on. Next story was Andersen from Carolina. He's out indefinitely with a blood clotting issue. Um, it says that he's expected to make a full recovery. No timetable for his return. So, no idea. Oh, I didn't realize it's actually in this article as well. Um, but because I saved it on another article, I'll talk about it there. So, anyways, yeah, so unknown return for him. Unfortunate, of course, but that's a pretty big loss for the team. So, worth mentioning separately from the injuries that we'll talk about later. Next up, Vasilevskiy's on track to return this month. So somewhere towards the end of this month. They say American Thanksgiving. So in all likelihood, either just before or maybe even just after the start of December. So that's about it for that. Another person that's out for a while, but in particular, well, at the extreme, basically Backstrom's unlikely to return for the season. So uh, it's kind of, I mean, not funny what's happened to him, but I don't know if you'd call it ironic. In any case, it's just, I guess funny is the only way I can put it, how he was commenting on, he was kind of getting upset by reporters asking about if he's fully recovered, and he said he's fully recovered and fine, and then this happens. So clearly, it's either he was not fully recovered or he re aggravated his injury to his hip. Um, but in any case, he's unlikely to return for the rest of the season. So unfortunate, but yeah, he's kind of had injury problems for a while, so not so surprising. This is where, so I even have it highlighted there. I didn't realize it was in the other article, but Halak was signed to PTO, given that Andersen is out for a while. And so when I went over the remaining free agents for the NHL, I was saying how he's one of those guys that I thought would have been signed, and not surprisingly to me, he's nabbed up right away. So good for Halak. Obviously, again, bad for Andersen, bad for the team. But Halak should give them, some reasonably decent goaltending. I thought he probably would still have some life in him. So, yeah, they probably, well, they've got Kachetkov, which, to be honest, I don't even know if they necessarily need Halak. But yeah, in any case, I mean, to have Halak, I don't know what's happened since. It's actually a good question. Because what I'm wondering is if he's still on a PTO. Sorry, one sec. If he's still on a PTO, or if he's been signed or released or whatever. What's the best way to find him? Yeah, so it says he's on a PTO still. So, so yeah, that's that on that piece. Otherwise, regarding the start for the Sharks, again, I'll mention the record later, like their current record, because of course these articles are dated. So GM threatens changes if the play doesn't improve. But like the thing is, they were meant to be a bottom dwelling team anyways. Like, are you expecting them to do better? Because I'm not, and I don't think anybody was. So you're threatening change with a team that wasn't good to begin with. Like, it just seems like backhanded. You're the guy that put together the franchise. I mean, it's only recently he was hired, but like, still, if the team's no good, it's both your fault. Well, actually, it's everybody's fault. But you have to put together a better team if you expect the team to perform better. And I mean, coaching matters and the players need to perform, but the team wasn't good to begin with. So how can you be getting mad at the team and threatening change? Well, you should have done change already. Anyways, So there's that, and then the next article kind of adds to that, which there was a meeting. Um, do, do, do. Hold a meeting with the players. That's what I was wondering. So, yeah, I let them know what was happening was not acceptable, what I'm seeing and what I expect from them. It's like maybe if they're not trying, I don't know. I didn't watch the games, but like it's just when you have a bad team, they're gonna perform poorly. Like I know the NHL is very close and they've got NHL players. It's just in some cases, San Jose being one of them, when the gap's too big, you can't compete. So, anyways, I just it's kind of stupid in my opinion. I don't like their handling of the situation. And if you're expected to be at the bottom, you're going to get a good draft pick. Like just I don't know why you need to make a public fuss about it. Moving on, Campbell was waived by the Oilers. His record at the time was, or well, his stats at the time were 4.50 goals against average and a .873 save percentage, which 873 is not horrendous. Like it's bad, but it's not like because if you were like 8.5 and below, then that means like you're just not playing nearly good enough. 873 is not good, and 4.5 goals against average is bad. Goals against average is more of a team stat, though, in my opinion. Save percentage could theoretically be partially a team stat as well. So I just don't. I don't know if you can blame it on him because when he hasn't played, they still haven't played well. So like, it's a team problem right now, as far as I'm concerned. So, anyways, 5-year, $25 million contract. I thought the tandem would be good, but honestly, I've never really thought the team has been that great. Their high end players allow them to like punch above their weight, is the saying. So to compete better than what they're meant to, or perform better than how they're meant to perform. So here I'm just I don't know. Did you need to do this? I don't think it's the goaltending really. It's if I had to take a guess, it's probably team defense. Again, I haven't seen all the games, but and I'm sure goaltending is a factor as well. Um, but it's just like it's just a mess right now in Edmonton, and I don't know how they're going to get out of it without making moves to fix whatever problems currently exist. Could be coaching. Maybe they need better defense. They don't have scoring depth really. So like they've got a lot of problems that if your top players aren't carrying the team, then and your secondary players, like I don't know what Nugent Hopkins is at for stats, but him as an example, if he's not producing, then like you can't just rely on two players to produce all your points. Actually, that is a good question. So, oh, and just before I get to that, Campbell did clear waivers and is going to the AHL. So just wanted to end that subject, but I'm interested to know what their stats are like. Let's do it this way. So, I mean, like, so it's not even really secondary scoring. So, Draisaitl, 15 points in 12 games. Bouchard, 11 points in 12. Hyman, 10 and 12. McDavid, 10 and 10. Kane, 9 and 12. 9 and 12, Nugent Hopkins. Behind that is where there's like just this massive drop off. So Vogel, Nurse, like, I mean, so like the defense at like what is that, a third of a point per game? I mean, that's within range. Uh, but you've got what, one, two, three, four, five players playing pretty much what, like producing as much as they're expected to. Vogel probably ballpark what you were expecting, and then everybody else is way, way below. Like, I mean, nobody else is getting any points. So I'd say it's like their depth scoring as opposed to secondary scoring. Well, I guess it depends on how you define the terms, but more or less first and second lines are producing well enough, and then it's just nothing behind that. Yeah, and like as an example, so like Skinner's save percentage is worse. So contrasting the two, at least from stats, I would actually say Skinner's played worse. Now, of course, I haven't seen the games. I don't know what the goals look like. I don't know how much the team is to blame versus the goalies, but it's just everybody's not playing well except for the top players, and that's what's going to happen when you're top heavy. So I don't know. They're in trouble. They'll probably get out of it. It's just, like, will they have to make moves? Is coaching an issue? Like, it could be. I don't know. It's hard to say, really. But yeah, so we'll see what happens there. A lot of injuries related subjects, topics, news stories this week. So Pacioretty is working towards coming back. So he had 2 Achilles tears last season. I think both took place in the same season. Second time last season, yeah. He debated retirement based on the title here, but he's going to come back, apparently. Hopefully. The thing is he's a pretty good producing player where if he's able to, actually play, like, he's going to be a valuable player for them. So, hoping that, well, for his sake, for the team's sake, just generally, that he recovers, because he's a good player. So, next one, like this, I don't think it's that big of a story, but Bedard becomes youngest player since 1944 with a 4-point game. Now, it's one of those, like, you look at it's 18 years, 27 days, 18 years, 56 days. It's like, I mean, it's just a number of days difference. As far as I'm concerned, it's a non-story. Cool that he got 4 points in a game, but beyond that, big deal. Yager's going to have his number retired by Penguins. I mean, I'm surprised that it took this long. Maybe they were unsure if he was going to come back or something. I don't know. But, yeah, obviously he should have his number retired. Where else did he play? He played for the Rangers. When did he do that? God. He played for the Stars. I don't remember that. Anyways, played for a bunch of teams. So how many games did he play with? Pittsburgh. 806 games. Okay, yeah. So it's a dramatic difference between the rest of the teams he played for, which is why I only really like the one that came to mind most when I was thinking about other teams he played for was Florida because it was the most recent that I could think of. But anyways, so I wouldn't and don't think he should get his number retired from the other teams, but with Pittsburgh, I like it should have probably already happened. So, anyways, um, now we're moving on to. Give me one sec here. Suspensions. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Give me one sec. Where is it here? Oh, I did miss one. Well, I'm glad I looked. Okay. So, I might as well do the one that I missed. So, Colton from the Avalanche was fined $5,000 for cross-checking Meyer. Don't really have more to say than that. Barzell fined $5,000 for high sticking D'Angelo from the Hurricanes, and Mangiapane suspended for 1 game for cross-checking McCann. So nothing major, but yeah. So that's about it for suspensions and fines, I guess. No waiver claims. I think I remember hearing and seeing that Janssen was put on waivers for contract termination. Just give me one sec here. Yeah, so it was terminated. Don't know why. Not really all that critical. Signings. Any signings? No signings for the week. Trades. There was 2, I believe. Yeah. So first one was Addison to the Sharks for Raska and a 5th. Not a major trade, so I was going to go and pull up stats, but I'm not going to bother. And then Bogosian goes to the Wild for a 7th. Now, one thing I just want to check quickly. Where do the Wild sit? So they're not high in the standings at the moment. So I was just thinking, were those trades to well, probably the Addison trade because he's a defenseman, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So they probably traded him to clear a spot for Bogosian. I don't know if that's actually the case, but I wouldn't be surprised. They probably didn't need him. Well, obviously didn't need him if they're going to trade him. And then picked up some assets for him and then got Bogosian. It's probably all related because it happened on the same day too. So, yeah, so not really anything too major there. So I won't really talk more about it, but that's it for trades. Scores, we actually still have some games on right now. So because of the time difference from when I was looking, when I would be doing these before, it would be after all the games were done. So at this point, they're not all done. What was... Is this going to tell me? I'm just wondering... Well, where is the first day? So I think it's this Saturday. I think it's the 4th. That I need to go back to. So again, there's not really much to... I'm not going to talk about the games really. If you're interested in what happened in the games, you can go check each of them. It'd just be too much. So the big stuff, big scores, lopsided games. There's the Penguins and Sharks, like we already mentioned. Avalanche lost 7-0 to the Knights, which is a pretty big loss. And I won't really talk about upsets either because they happen all the time anyways. So nothing really else to report. So one thing here, just at this moment, Flyers are beating Ducks and Knights are beating Sharks. So with the standings that we're going to look at next, you can keep those in mind because based on those scores, the Knights should surely win. And then Flyers in all likelihood are going to win that game, but you never know. So going over to standings. Oh, and I forgot. I got to pull up my predictions because every week we're going to just have a look at my predictions versus what's actually taking place. Just to kind of track how accurate my predictions have been. So I can share again. Actually, we need Atlantic at the top here. So currently Boston, Florida, Detroit are top 3. So Boston is ballpark where I was expecting. I thought they'd be, slightly lower, but so they've done better than I was expecting. Panthers are ballpark what I was expecting. I thought maybe they could have a slow start, but surprisingly, I would say they've actually done quite well to start. Detroit, it's one of those teams I mentioned that they're a bubble team. They basically Lightning, maybe even the Panthers, but for the most part, Lightning, Senators, Red Wings, Sabres, all those teams are interchangeable, like I said in my predictions before the season. So for the Red Wings to be there, not surprised at all. Toronto to be as low as they are, obviously a bit surprised, but it's so early that it's not really all that big of a deal. Lightning are ballpark where I was expecting. So, so pretty close to my predictions. I mean, I'm 3 for 4. Am I 3 for 4? 1, 2, 3. Well, I guess technically 4 for 4 with the wild card, but it just would mean that I'm more wrong on the Metropolitan. So taking a look at that, Hurricanes I had first, they're in second. Rangers I had third, they're in first. Islanders are down kind of, below middle, but in the pack for the wild card, basically. So they're below my prediction, at least at this point. Likewise for the Penguins. But again, with just a streak of like 3 games, they're right back in it. So it doesn't really mean that much at this point. So for that division, I'm 1, 2 for 4. So in any case, not crazy far off in my predictions. Everybody's kind of like mixed up at the bottom though. So like wasn't Buffalo last week at the bottom? So things can change pretty quickly. Like it's a 5-point spread from bottom to just below the wild card spots. In 2 games is 4 points. That puts them 1 point behind Buffalo, Ottawa to Buffalo. So I mean, it's just things can change very quickly. So yeah, and again, that's going to be the topic of a stream coming up semi soon. So it should actually be the next Friday, but we'll see. Yeah, so anyways, just long story short, these standings they're not set in stone at all at this point. Otherwise, Central Division Stars at the top, exactly as I predicted. Colorado in second. I have them in third. Winnipeg in third. I have them in the 7th. So first wild card spot. So I'm not far off on that one either. So really, all of those are pretty accurate. The Blues, I'm actually not far off on as well. So to be honest, you could say 4 for 4, but just not in position at the very, or yeah, if you're going to be critical of it, not in their position. So, wrong direction. And then Pacific, Vegas on the top. That's what I was expecting. They're probably going to get a win now too. Vancouver has been a surprise. I don't know how they're doing so well. LA in third. I have them in third. Oilers are basically at the bottom. They're tied for last. They're tied for last place in the West. Like that's shocking. What a bad start. So I was, obviously predicting them to be higher. Oh, excuse me. They'll probably get out of it. So. But I mean, you never know. Maybe they could finish so low or just miss the playoffs or something. You never know. It's a close, very even league. And then Flames are near the bottom. But again, a couple games they can move right up. So what is that for Pacific? I'm 1, 2 for 4. Yeah. So, I mean, what is that? So, 12 for 16. It's kind of typical with my predictions. I usually get something like that. Again, it's so early, we don't know how it's going to actually end up. But, yeah, it's hard to get every team right, that's for sure. So anyways, those are the standings. What was I was going to comment. So San Jose, they're probably going to lose this game. I don't know the order of their win-loss, but they're currently 2-8. So they're 2-10-1, which is brutal. And the fact that the Oilers are 2-9-1 is just it's shockingly bad. Yeah, I think that's it to comment on the standings. And then stat leaders. I mean, you can kind of see it yourself. So Pettersson, Kucherov, Panarin, Hughes, Nylander, Hughes, number 2. So Quinn Hughes, defenseman. He's fourth in points. Those Hughes brothers, man, they're good players. It's going to be another one of those family, like historic family, high performing families. It's impressive. So Jack Hughes, Pasternak, Miller, Bratt, Matthews. And then switching over to goals, Matthews in first with 13, Kucherov, Besser, Connor, Pasternak, Nylander, Reinhardt. That's pretty good to be up there. DeBrincat. So I think he was higher in the list before, and he's kind of slipped a bit. Vetrano and Konechny. Then defensemen, you can see it there. Hughes, Hedman, Makar, Hronek, Dobson, Dunn, Theodore, Fox, Bouchard, Chychrun. They should all be... Wait, how many games have been played now? So at least a chunk of them are over a point per game, which is pretty darn good for defensemen. Bedard is now up at the top of rookies, which is... I mean, he was, in the top 10, but towards the bottom of the top 10 before, and then now he's kind of leapfrogged everybody from that 4-point game, so good for him. Yeah, goalie stats, it's still too early really to think much of them, so I think that's actually it. I don't think there's anything else I was going to cover. Just give me 1 sec to confirm. Yeah, so that's it. That kind of gives you a recap of the week, and we'll leave it there. So if you like the stream, hit the like button, share with your friends, subscribe, turn on notifications. The channel homepage has upcoming streams on regular NHL content. It's always going to be Fridays, one in the early afternoon, and then one late, like tonight. For things I can't schedule ahead of time, like franchise mode, that schedules in the About section of the channel. It runs Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and I've changed it to... Give me a sec. $10 p.m. Eastern. It was 9:30, and then I moved it another half hour just because schedule conflicts and stuff. Be a pros whenever I have time or feel like it. I wanted to play yesterday. I just ran out of time. I'll talk about that in a sec. So any comments, leave them in the comments, suggestions likewise. And so what I was going to say, so I just decided, I don't know 100% for sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm actually not going to buy NHL 24. So from some stuff that I read in the reviews, and like having seen the, what do they call it? The teaser for the game or whatever, launch video. Yeah, there's a couple of features that really annoy me that I don't even want to deal with. So for example, they're not major, but they would be majorly annoying for me. So isn't there's like some stuff with the skill stick that's not the same, where it doesn't work in the same way. There's like a hit button as opposed to using the stick, and you can't choose to skate backwards. I there's a few things. That's what I think I've seen and heard. I don't know how accurate, if my memory is correct and all that stuff. You kind of would have to play the game to figure out if you would like it, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem, based on the video that I watched and things that I've read, where there's been enough improvements to justify buying the next version. Yes, it's funny because people are still talking about how NHL 14 was the last time that the game was good. And that's actually what I owned kind of by chance and played for a while until I gave away my old Xbox. Um, so that's kind of the only reason I stopped playing. And then I didn't play for a few years. So, um, yeah, long story short, just the game hasn't improved, and then it's actually taken a step back from the controls that I like for Be a Pro. Um, and I know that's not my primary thing, but apparently also franchise mode hasn't really improved at all. It's basically stayed the same. So what's the point? Is kind of what I'm getting at. Uh, what's the point in owning the new game? So I'm probably it just doesn't seem like I'm going to unless there's some crazy change where I see some news about where in some of the patches they revert back or they add some features to franchise mode or something. But I very seriously doubt it because they never tend to make big changes after a launch. So yeah, I just wanted to give that update that I'm probably not gonna buy NHL 24, and I hope that doesn't really bug anybody. It kind of, it hurts my channel in a sense because then I'm not playing the most recent game. But if the game hasn't changed that much, then really everything that I should be doing should be um, close enough to accurate. So, for example, if I talk about strategy for franchise mode, then it should be pretty much the same. So I don't need the newer version to really talk about that stuff. So what's the point? So, um, anyways, so just wanted to give that update. And that's about it. So we will leave it there. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, bye.